So, giving you the overview of the urinary system, structures of the kidney. So, two main components of the kidney. You have the cortex and the medulla. Cortex, as we said, literally translates to rind or bark. So it's around the outside. So if you're big into colors, it is the yellowish that you see around here. It's the yellowish colored area around here. And if you look, there are yellow areas that kind of extend inward toward the renal pelvis, which is right here. So these yellowy areas here, you don't see them everywhere, but those are called the renal columns. And the renal columns are just extensions of the renal cortex. So now the other component of the kidney is the renal medulla. And the medulla is this stuff that you see in here. So the reddish area. And if you look at each one of these areas, what do they kind of resemble? What shape do they resemble? Come on, geometry, high school.
Triangles.
Triangles. And what kind of triangles did the Egyptians make? Pyramids. These are renal pyramids. The tissue that they are made of is renal medulla, but the structure that is formed by that renal medulla is the renal pyramid. Okay, so in each one of these structures, both, and you actually see them here, so it looks like a lot of little capsules attached to blood vessels here. These are going to be the workhorse of the kidney. These are what form urine. The rest of the kidney structure is simply a scaffolding for these things to work on. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to slide the board over and we're going to take this area and we're going to blow it up. Ready? This is the renal medulla, this is the cortex, this whole thing, the whole structure here is the renal pyramid. Right here. So that's the renal pyramid, that's the cortex. Now, each one of these is an individual functioning unit of the kidney. So we look at this one, right here, we start with this capsule. You see this little network of tubules and a big loop down here, comes back up, and then does another little squiggly here, and hooks up to this tubule, and leads toward the tip of the renal pyramid, right here, which is called the renal papilla of the nephron. Is this ball of capillaries. This ball of capillaries is called the glomerulus. Now it's a tricky word to say, and students stumble over it, so I want everybody to say it with me really slow. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Glomerulus. Now a little faster. Glomerulus.
So the ball of capillaries is...
This is the glomerulus. What is this?
Glomerulus.
Very good. And it's spelled exactly like it sounds. Glo, G-L-O, mer, M-E-R, U-L-U-S. Glomerulus. So, blood enters into the glomerulus via this tiny little arteriole. And when you talk, remember the afferent, efferent pathways, talked about a little bit. Afferent is information that comes into the body, so sensory information, when you're referring to the nervous system. Sensory information. Efferent are motor commands going out. So same thing when we're talking about the glomerulus. Afferent is, an afferent arteriole is bringing blood into the glomerulus, and the efferent arteriole brings blood away from the glomerulus. So this is the afferent arteriole. There are 3 parts to this tubule network. There's this part here, then there's a little hairpin loop, and then there's another little squiggly part up here. Well, the squiggly parts are easy because they basically have the same name. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal referring to its distance or relative location to the corpuscle, and convoluted meaning it's squiggly. That's all convoluted means. So it's the proximal convoluted tubule. The other convoluted tubule is over here. It is the distal convoluted tubule. Right about from here, going up and squiggles, and then hooks up to this long tubule here that leads all the way down to this point, right here. That is the collecting duct. So we missed a part, so we have to back up. Proximal convoluted tubule. And we technically this part right here where it forms like a big U. This whole thing is known as the nephron loop, and it has specific components to it. I don't think your lab manual gets that picky about the descending limb and ascending limb, but that's what they are. This is the descending limb of the nephron loop. This is the ascending limb of the nephron loop. And this part right here, where it does a little elbow bend, that is a loop of Henle. And that was the discoverer of this structure. So we'll talk more about the physiological functions of these structures when we get to lecture, but suffice it to say that blood is filtered here, and everything that is filtered trickles down into this tubule network. And the things that are meant to be excreted work their way into the collecting duct, and then from the collecting duct, I'm going to shrink this. Ready? 1, 2. There's a collecting duct. Leads into this little opening right there. It's a little funnel. It's a tubule, a giant tubule, that collects formed urine. This is called a calyx. C-A-L-Y-X. Calyx. And there are two types of calyx. There are minor calyx, and there are major calyx. The minor calyx drains urine away from one renal pyramid. See how that's renal pyramid? Drains into this tubule. That's a minor calyx. The major calyx, seen here, and you have more than just one of them. There's just only room enough to show you one on the model. The major calyx joins two minor calyces, technically as the correct plural form. Minor calyx drain into this tubule right here. That's the major calyx. And the major calyx drains into this area. This is the renal pelvis. So all of this. And then down here, you start the ureter, or ureter, however you want to say it. And that's pretty much it. So I'll show you over here again. This is a very close view of the capsule, which is this. That's the very proximal end of the proximal convoluted tubule. This is the glomerulus. The glomerulus inside of the capsule is called the renal corpuscle. And that's it. That's your tour of the urinary system. Are there any questions on the urinary system? Like I said, it's going to take a little bit of hands-on work and getting used to where everything is, but if you think about the process of urine formation, it starts with the filtration of blood. Then you have absorption, and secretion. That's the other function that occurs in this nephron loop. I didn't talk about that much because it's more of a physiology thing, but you have reabsorption of nutrients